On the day of my engagement to the capital's Tycoon, a woman claiming to be the chosen female lead appeared. In front of everyone, she grabbed my fiancé's hand and called him hubby. She even said I was merely a supporting character, destined to be collateral damage in their love story. The next second, a gleaming black pistol was pressed against her forehead. My fiancé smiled coldly. I've worked damn hard to win her over. If you dare to interfere, I'll blow your brains out. Try it? Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Denzel Reed's temper was notoriously bad. Before I came into the picture, he took pleasure in tormenting others for his own amusement. He would push people into swimming pools and refuse to let them out, until they recited the entire Bible from memory. Those with a fear of heights would be coerced into bungee jumping from 200-meter platforms until they passed out. For those afraid of ghosts, he had special methods. He'd either arrange for them to work at crematoriums or guard corpses at funeral homes. Even when these poor souls would fall to their knees, crying and begging, swearing they'd learned their lesson and would never cross him again, the man remained unmoved. He wouldn't show mercy until he'd driven them to the brink of madness. This was what I'd learned about this character before I transmigrated into the story world. And now, as I stood outside the door, I could hear heart-wrenching sobs from within, accompanied by the man's familiar laughter. Oh dear. Denzel was at it again, tormenting someone new. I didn't knock, just walked straight in. The young man panicked when he saw me, dropping the whip and standing up straight. I hadn't even started yet, he just screamed. The person pinned to the floor quickly begged for mercy. Miss Bailey, please save me. I won't dare do it again, I truly regret it. Please ask Mr. Reed to let me go. I silently looked at Denzel. He ignored it for 3 seconds, then immediately compromised and released the man. Get out, he said. The man scrambled out, terrified. This was the basement, poorly ventilated and filled with the stench of blood from various occasions. Denzel wordlessly led me out, frowning. Your health isn't good. Don't come to places like this in the future. I couldn't sleep and wanted to talk to you. When I saw you weren't in your room, I knew you'd brought someone down here again. The man was tall with long legs. He slowed his pace, staying half a step behind me. Denzel had said before that this way he could keep me in his sight at all times. Are you nervous about the engagement tomorrow? I gave a soft in response. Soon, as we were about to enter the garden, he asked me to close my eyes. I have a gift for you. The man gently put his arm around me, reminding me to watch my step as we slowly walked forward. All right, open them. He removed his hand. The moment I opened my eyes, they instantly turned blood red. Before me was a garden of roses in full, lush bloom. Denzel anxiously said, I planted all of these myself. Do you like them? There were several scrapes on the back of the man's hands. I looked at him and smiled silently. When I was younger, I was one of Denzel's little fangirls. He despised me. Whenever someone referred to us as childhood sweethearts, he would first do everything in his power to shut them up, then coldly threaten me. Stay away from me. Don't you know how annoying you are? I did know, of course I did. But that didn't matter. It still didn't stop me from chasing after him, calling him Denzel. I persisted in writing him letters. Not love notes, just daily observations of what I'd seen and heard. Then, Denzel would throw a stack of letters into my school bag. He'd snarl, I'm not interested in your diary. He was the first person I ever gave flowers to, but it landed him in hospital. It turned out he was allergic to pollen. Feeling guilty, I ran to the hospital to see him. The boy hid under the covers, an IV drip still in his arm, and pointed to the door. Get out! Stay away from me. Everyone said, Eleanor, you should be grateful you two are childhood friends. Otherwise, he'd have beaten you black and blue by now. I ran out of the hospital crying, but as soon as I got into the car, my tears vanished. I even smiled, thinking, yes, this is exactly how it should be. When he turned 10, he was incredibly rebellious, refusing to follow his family's plans and insisting on celebrating his birthday outside. Originally that day, I had dressed up nicely to welcome him at the Reed house. But he still avoided me, choosing not to come home at all. Giving a gift after midnight was considered unlucky. So I braved the heavy rain alone, clutching his birthday present as I went to find him. In front of everyone, he said he didn't like the gift and carelessly tossed it into a bin. If I had been a real 6-year-old girl, I probably would have cried right then and there. But I wouldn't, because I had transmigrated into this body. I had long since figured out Denzel's true feelings. Instead of crying after being publicly rejected, I looked at him pitifully and said, "Denzel, can you take me home? I'm afraid of the dark." Of course, Denzel wouldn't agree. But what he probably didn't know was that because of this stubborn refusal, I ended up being kidnapped for 5 years. When they found me again, my body was racked with a severe chill. My face was as white as a sheet, and I could barely stand. The sight of me was enough to break anyone's heart. The day the Baileys came, Denzel also arrived to pick me up. He had changed somewhat. His eyes now held regret, pity, and guilt when he looked at me, no longer filled with the disgust from before. As he helped me into the car, the young man who was known to be the most intimidating whispered in my ear, "Eleanor, I'll protect you from now on. I'll never let you get lost again." I kept my head down, secretly curling my lips into a small smile. Denzel truly kept his word. He was terribly rude to others, but with me, he was only ever careful and gentle. Because I had to take medicine for my illness, I would often use the excuse of bitterness to hide from the adults and secretly pour it out. Denzel caught me once when he came to visit. The young man's face turned fierce for just a second before he restrained himself, then gently coaxed me. "How will you get better if you don't take your medicine? Be a good girl." I turned my head away without a word. He didn't get angry, just patiently moved to the other side to continue persuading me. During his teenage years, Denzel had been at his most rebellious, wild, and uncontrollable. But everyone knew that after I came back, Denzel changed. Before, he would either sleep or play football during class. Afterwards, he would either video call to check on me in the hospital, or diligently take notes to help tutor me later. He used to be out all day on weekends, but later, no one could get him to leave. His excuses were always, "I can't, I need to watch Eleanor take her medicine. I'm not going, Eleanor gets scared easily. She'll be frightened if she sees blood on me. Eleanor doesn't want me to fight, so I'm listening to her." His mates' thoughts were, "Eleanor this, Eleanor that, everything's about your Eleanor. You used to avoid her like the plague, now you're clinging to her like a simp. It's embarrassing to watch." How the tables have turned, young Master Reed. That year when I turned 18, just after finishing my A-levels. On the day we took our graduation photos, a classmate took the opportunity to confess his feelings for me. Denzel, who had come to pick me up, witnessed the scene. From a distance, I heard his mischievous voice. "Not a chance, mate. She's mine. Saw it off." The man scampered away, frightened by Denzel. I tried to escape, but Denzel cornered me against the wall. The young man's features were exquisitely handsome and noble, with a hint of world-weary indolence. "Eleanor, we're adults now. May I confess my feelings for you?" Even for something like a confession, he was seeking my permission. However, I didn't accept. The reason I gave was, "I'm sorry, I only see you as a friend." Young Master Reed, who had received love letters by the dozen since childhood, had never faced rejection in this area. My words left him coldly amused. But it didn't discourage him in the slightest. "That's all right. After all, you're only 18 this year. If we consider a lifespan of 100 years, we still have 82 years ahead. I'll confess to you every year. 82 years, that's all. I can wait." Later, everyone in the capital knew that even the notorious young Master Denzel had someone he couldn't win over. He arranged a confession every single year, stubbornly refusing to give up. Everyone around us was moved and urged me to accept him. I just smiled. No rush. The time hadn't come yet. The day I accepted Denzel's confession, he was as happy as a fool. When he held my hand, it trembled noticeably. Our friends who grew up with us in the social circle all teased him mercilessly. "Denzel, have you no dignity? This is just her agreeing to be your girlfriend. If she accepts your proposal one day, I'll eat my hat if you don't cry. Who would have thought our fearless Mr. Reed would have such a side to him? I don't care, I'm going to make his life hell at their wedding. He used to beat me up when we were kids. Denzel ignored all their jokes and focused solely on me. I asked him what he was looking at. He smiled with infinite tenderness. Eleanor, now that you've accepted me, there's no turning back. I won't let you leave. I joked, what if someday a girl stands before you, claiming she's the one you should marry? What would you do? I, Denzel Reed, will only marry Eleanor Bailey. He took my hand and placed it over his heart. Remember the shooting lessons I gave you? If I ever break my word, aim right here. He looked at me earnestly as he said this. And so, naturally, we began to discuss marriage. Tomorrow is our engagement party. Compared to Denzel's nervousness, I remained calm throughout, occasionally glancing towards the door. Eleanor, you and Denzel are family now. You mustn't be so willful at home anymore, my father said. Hearing these words from my father, I remained unmoved, even finding them hypocritical. I wasn't particularly close to the Baileys. My mother passed away the year I was born, and my father had long since remarried. That house never truly accepted me. During the 5 years I was missing, the Baileys put less effort into finding me than the Reeds did. Even more laughable, they tried to persuade Denzel. Eleanor's disappearance was just her bad luck. We need to move on, don't be so obsessed. Later, when I was found, there was even less room for me in the Bailey household. I was left with nothing but the title of Miss Bailey. This marriage alliance with the Reed family made them both unable to tolerate me, and yet forced to ingratiate themselves to me. People truly are despicable creatures. The man beside me took my hand and glared at my father. My Eleanor has never been willful, so there's nothing to change. She can do whatever she wants, even murder someone if she likes. That last sentence especially frightened my old father so much. He nearly dropped his wine glass, sheepishly taking a seat. As people were urging us to drink from the loving cup, a commotion arose outside, and a panicked woman ran in. Denzel, you can't marry her, she cried. She was the first person brave enough to crash Denzel's party. I said nothing, just hid behind Denzel, feigning timidity. Who is she? This was the thought on everyone's mind. Then, the woman ran over, grabbed Denzel's hand, and gazed at him lovingly. Hubby, she said. This woman must be mad. That was what everyone was thinking. Denzel shook her off in disgust and ordered, get this person out of here now. He had shown great restraint over the years. In the past, this person might have lost her hand for such an action. The woman was being dragged away by 2 security guards. But she found some unknown strength to resist. She glared at me viciously. Eleanor Bailey, it's you. You stole everything from me. You should have been dead by now. I turned pale. Denzel held me close while warning her that if she said one more nonsensical thing, she'd lose her tongue. Denzel. We're meant to be together. I'm the female lead, you're the male lead. And Eleanor Bailey is just a disposable character in our love story. She has no right to marry you. Mad, absolutely mad. Where did this lunatic come from? The next moment, the woman's voice was cut off abruptly, followed by shocked gazes from countless people. She trembled in fear because a shiny black pistol was pressed against her forehead. My fiancé smiled coldly. I've finally caught the one I've been chasing. Dare to interfere, and I'll put a bullet in your head. Try it? Denzel was capable of it. There was nothing he wouldn't dare to do. I held the man's hand, shaking my head. Denzel, don't. He remained silent but obediently lowered the pistol. From the expressions of the onlookers, one could read their thoughts. Mr. Reed is truly henpecked. Someone can finally keep this tyrant in check. What a relief! I stepped forward, examining the person before me. Miss, I don't know why you've come to curse me, meticulously disrupting my engagement party. But I won't blame you, as your condition evokes some sympathy. I hope you'll cooperate well with treatment. Mabel Thornton. That was her name, or rather, the name of the body she had transmigrated into. She was right, she was indeed the female lead. Unfortunately, that changed the day I arrived. When I came to this world, a voice told me, "Please win over Denzel Reed and punish the book-traversing girl. Achieve 100% of Denzel Reed's affection to leave. Otherwise, you'll be erased with no afterlife." Mabel turned her pleading gaze to Denzel. "Denzel, you must believe me. I can tell you everything I know and don't know. I even know the cause of your mother's death." Denzel was stunned for a moment. I remained unmoved, slowly lowering my eyes. Mabel broke free from those restraining her and approached Denzel, her voice like a bewitching spell. "I'll tell you a secret. I'm here to redeem you. I know all your sufferings. Don't be afraid. I'm here now." The man's voice was low as he stared at her intently. "Is what you're saying true?" "Of course. Denzel, I'm your true female lead." Seeing Mabel's triumphant smile, I curved my lips slightly. "I hope you won't regret saying those words." Denzel's personality was largely shaped by his mother's death. But I never mentioned it, as it was his Achilles heel. Sure enough, in the next second, the man coldly pressed the pistol against her lips. He raised an eyebrow and said, "Do you know what annoys me the most?" The woman was too frightened to speak, trembling uncontrollably. "I'm most annoyed by women with delusions of grandeur." "Redemption? You think I need you to redeem me? Which mental hospital did you escape from?" Today was a joyous occasion, and Denzel didn't want to see blood. Mabel should be grateful for this. Otherwise, she might have been carried out horizontally. She was escorted to the police station by Denzel's men. He washed his hands repeatedly at the sink until his fingers turned red. I hadn't yet spoken a word. The man pursed his lips. "She touched me. I didn't know she'd be so bold. I didn't have time to dodge. I never intended to touch her." He was extremely irritated. "I really want to go and cripple her hands." The man who had been so domineering moments ago now looked as pitiful as an unwanted puppy. I found it somewhat amusing. "Denzel, don't act like a child." He cornered me against the wall, grumbling and muttering for ages. Rambling on, essentially accusing me of being annoyed with him. I sighed. "No, you're overthinking it." An abrupt cough interrupted us. It was Denzel's subordinate, who didn't dare to look up as he spoke timidly. "Mr. Reed, that woman is making a fuss about seeing you." Denzel returned to his normal demeanor in an instant. His eyes blazing with fire, extremely irritable and impatient. "There are plenty of people in the capital who want to see me. Does she think she can just demand an audience? You bother me with such trivial matters, you bunch of useless idiots." Bloody hell! After sending his subordinate away, the man immediately lowered his head and apologized. "I'm sorry, that lunatic ruined our perfect day." I spoke too loudly. The subordinate who hadn't gone far yet was speechless. It wasn't just loud. It was nearly enough to scare the life out of someone. In the dead of night, a static buzz filled my mind, followed by intermittent bursts of a cold, mechanical voice. 0714, "I'm sorry, but my abilities can't prevent her from coming," it said. I opened my eyes and whispered, "It's all right. She wouldn't be able to take Denzel away from me." Mabel was only detained at the police station for a few days. But she still hadn't given up. This time, however, she wasn't as rash as before. She approached me privately. She got straight to the point. "Are you reborn? Or have you transmigrated into the novel?" I smiled gently. "Miss Thornton, I'm not sure what you mean." "Miss Bailey, let me give you some advice. You and him are not meant to be together." I reminded her politely, "We're already engaged." She laughed coldly, dismissing my words. "So what if you're engaged? Even married couples get divorced. In this world, you two will never end up together. I, on the other hand, am his ultimate choice. He's my most loyal simp." When I heard the word simp, I couldn't help but frown. It was hard to imagine that word applying to Denzel. Simp? More like a wolf, if anything. The marks from his bites last night were still hidden beneath my high-necked top. She looked at me with disdain. "As for you, your fate is to die abroad, despised by everyone around you. Because of your jealousy towards me. Not even your body will be claimed. I don't know why you're still standing here now, but your fate can't be changed. Cherish every day you have left alive. I curved my lips, resting my chin on my hand. Oh, how frightening. I'll be sure to cherish it. Mabel's expression of absolute certainty made me want to laugh out loud. But I held it in. Miss Thornton, I understand your obsession with my fiancé. Unrequited love hurts both parties. Perhaps your true match is someone else? Her gaze flickered for a moment, and she nervously averted her eyes. Well, I've said my piece. Believe it or not, that's up to you. Watching her hurried retreat, I couldn't help but smile. Sitting in the back seat of the car, I instructed the driver to follow her. Mabel's family background wasn't poor, but it simply wasn't impressive enough in capital. She was wearing expensive designer brands. Standing out of place in front of the shabby garage, she called out timidly. A man came out from inside. He was tall and well-built, wearing black overalls with oil stains on his face, his eyes indifferent. The cold, mechanical voice spoke again. That's the male lead, Kelvin Wilson. I said I knew. I had known all along. I came here for him. Mabel was only half right. She was indeed the female lead, but Denzel wasn't the male lead. He was just a supporting character. The real male lead was the ordinary-looking man standing before us. You might wonder why Mabel would weave a half-truth. I want to say I don't know either. The system's assigned task didn't mention this information. It only reminded me that if I hadn't gained Denzel's trust by the time the transmigrator arrived, I would only get further from completing the task. So, for the first 20 years, I didn't keep the system with me. I let it delay the transmigrator's arrival. And I, alone in this completely unfamiliar place, fumbled my way through advancing the task. I spent 20 years making Denzel unable to leave me. Miss Thornton, you don't need to use the excuse of a twisted ankle every time you want to see me. I'm very busy, Kelvin said, trying to control his temper, but his furrowed brow betrayed his impatience. Mabel's face stiffened for a moment, and she stood there awkwardly. The words she had prepared suddenly difficult to utter. The man had no time for idle chat and waved his hand, ready to leave. I told you, I like you. If you'll be with me, I'll make sure you can walk tall in the capital. And put that Denzel Reed under your foot. Mabel blurted out desperately. I lowered my window slightly, squinting my eyes. Oh Mabel, your ambition knows no bounds. Kelvin looked at her with a puzzled expression. I don't even know who Denzel Reed is. Yesterday you came to me out of the blue, spouting a load of nonsense. I was kind enough not to call and have you sent to a mental hospital. Now, if you'll excuse me. The woman quickly stepped forward and grabbed his arm. Kelvin, I'm telling you the truth. You'll be the most powerful person in capital in the future. I know everything that's going to happen and can help you take shortcuts. You won't have to struggle so much anymore. And what's more, I'm your future wife. Trust me. I watched as she was thrown to the ground. The man's gaze remained calm. If you're going to lie, at least make it believable. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? I don't want to insult a woman, so please show yourself out. Once he was gone, Mabel revealed her true colors, disgustedly wiping the dirt from her hands. How filthy! If it weren't for the fact that you're the male lead, why would I bother with a mere mechanic? Dream on, Kelvin Wilson. Let me think for a moment. The male lead in the book, a lost young heir from a prestigious capital family, was found by his relatives at the age of 20. It coincided with a period of internal strife within the family, and it was he who held everything together amidst the turmoil. The book mentions that later, because of Mabel, he and Denzel's character also became rivals. However, due to the protagonist's overwhelming charisma, Denzel naturally lost out, and his fate wasn't mentioned in the ending. As for Mabel, I smile knowingly. I think I've figured out what she's up to. She's trying to be a player, casting her net far and wide. I was analyzing the task when someone hugged me from behind. The man nuzzled his head against me. Babe, you've been lost in thought since you came back. What's wrong? I remembered something. The Hill Group has been involved in quite a few scandals lately. I heard those inside are preparing to leave. Is that your doing? The man's mind was clearly elsewhere, but he still answered seriously. The Hill family has been hanging on for so many years. It was only a matter of time before they fell apart. Why would I need to do anything? Since you told me to stop doing those dangerous things, my hands have been clean. I pondered this. Denzel turned me to face him. Has someone been bullying you? I smiled. No, don't overthink it. I can't help but think too much, but if you want to cure me of this illness, there's another way. I didn't know what he was hinting at. What? The man lowered his gaze and suddenly smiled. A kiss, of course. The desk became our battlefield. This was the office, with people moving about outside. I bit my lip tightly, not daring to make a sound. Suddenly, the door was pushed open from the outside. Mr. Reed. Denzel, breathing heavily, looked up. Get out! The assistant, scared witless, scurried away, making sure to close the door behind him. Denzel's kissing skills were now so refined that I could no longer tease him as I once did. When was our first kiss? It seems it was the first time Denzel made me angry. He had raced cars on a bet, nearly losing his life. Everyone tried to keep it from me, but I found out anyway. I didn't even go to the hospital. No one dared call me heartless, only the Baileys advised me not to be too harsh. I stayed in my small cottage, not leaving the house. Each day I either practiced piano or danced. The next day, I went out with an invitation to an auction. Before entering the event, Denzel's call came through. I swiped to answer, putting it to my ear. Denzel. Eleanor, you're not at home? He must be at the cottage now. I made a small sound of agreement. Where are you? Out clearing my head. Denzel seemed to have a lot to explain, but after he said sorry, I told him it was almost time and hung up before he could finish. That night, I came home very late. Denzel was nearly mad with worry, not because he couldn't find me, but fearing he'd angered me again. He didn't dare break anything, knowing I disliked it. He wouldn't even smoke in front of me, even though it was nearly freezing outside. The man wore only a thin shirt, crouching by the door waiting for me to come home. The moment he saw me, he just quietly complained. Why didn't you wear more clothes when you went out? Don't you care about your health? He must have come in a hurry, not even wiping the blood from the back of his hand. Denzel hurriedly hid his hand behind his back, nervously saying, I didn't do anything to him, I stood on tiptoe, my coat falling from my shoulders, our two shadows intimately close. I kissed Denzel first. It was my first kiss, and his too. So he was even more nervous than me. Denzel, I only worry about you. Please don't do such dangerous things anymore, okay? His face turned bright red. Okay. The man's appearance was intimidating, his eyes always harboring a fierce glint that scared everyone away. More than once in my childhood, I caught sight of him hiding in a corner, poking at mouse holes while sobbing and muttering to himself. I'm not a monster. Is it my fault I look scary? Why does everyone hate me? Why does everyone avoid me? He was crouched there like a little ball. That was the first time I visited the Reed family, and I stumbled upon him by accident. It was then that a plan to win him over began to form in my mind. Denzel was utterly embarrassed. After the kiss, he covered his face with both hands and hurried into the bathroom. From inside, his voice could be heard bragging to his childhood friends. How did you know Eleanor just kissed me? And she initiated it, too. My Eleanor is simply the best. What would you know, you single loser? Do you even have a girlfriend? Denzel could be so childish sometimes. Before bed, he prepared a foot bath with water at just the right temperature. Rolling up his sleeves, he gestured for me to extend my feet. The esteemed young Mr. Reed of Capital's elite circle, willingly kneeling on one knee to wash someone's feet. I teased him intentionally. What if people outside found out about this? Where would you hide your face? The man happily continued washing, letting out a small grunt. Isn't doting on one's girlfriend only natural? What's wrong with washing feet? If you weren't so shy, I'd even help you bathe. I blushed furiously, unable to meet his gaze. Car wash or repair? The man didn't look up, focused on his computer. I handed him a business card. I'm here to see someone. Who? Kelvin Wilson. The man slowly raised his eyes to look at me, giving me a once-over without being too obvious. Is it you? I was slightly surprised. Do you know me? He shook his head. Not personally, but I've seen you before. Eleanor Bailey, Denzel Reed's fiancé from the Reed family, right? I nodded. Kelvin looked weary, letting out a cynical chuckle. Thanks to that nutter who kept mentioning Denzel Reed's name. I got curious and looked him up online. Quite the character. You're not here about your fiancé, are you? I gave a slight smile. No, it's about you. I only mentioned Kelvin's background, not a word more. Even if I had, he might not have believed it. Mabel was too eager for quick results. Your grandfather is still waiting for you at the hospital. He won't rest in peace without seeing you. I pushed the business card towards him. This is Jason Hill's right-hand man. Think it over and contact him if you want. It's fine if you don't go, it just means your only living relative will be gone. The man's emotions were hidden behind his dark eyes as he remained silent. A few days later, news of the Hill family's passing spread. However, there was no mention of Kelvin. The system asked me, actually, you don't have to bother with this matter. I replied, no, there are many reasons. Come to think of it, I had been pondering many details from the story over those few days. The most crucial reason for Denzel and Kelvin becoming sworn enemies was Denzel's involvement in the Hill family's downfall. When he attempted to acquire the entire Hill group, Kelvin appeared. Kelvin resented Denzel's interference and also blamed him for his grandfather's death. The two engaged in overt and covert battles, fighting tooth and nail wherever they went. I strived to guide Denzel onto the right path, preventing him from getting entangled in this affair again. Even if Kelvin were to rise to power in the future, the two wouldn't have to be at odds with each other. I spotted Kelvin drunk at the bar. The man was sitting alone at the counter, swaying slightly, one hand propping up his forehead, his eyes downcast, lost in thought. Denzel, with his arm around my waist, asked, "What are you looking at?" I turned back, nothing. The music was deafening, and Denzel and I were trailing behind the group. He tightened his grip on me and whispered in my ear with a hint of jealousy. "Eleanor, you've been naughty lately, looking at other men right in front of me." The group ahead of us, noticing we hadn't kept up, turned back curiously. I hid a smile and whispered 2 words in Denzel's ear. The man's face turned bright red, and he gave my waist a gentle squeeze. "We'll settle this later." Today was a gathering with friends in the circle. I never restricted Denzel's drinking, so I made an excuse to go find him some coffee to sober up. When I returned to the same spot, there was a curvaceous woman next to Kelvin. Mabel was leaning in, talking to him quietly. Just as they were about to kiss, he vomited all over her. The smile on Mabel's face cracked. She pushed the man away in disgust and ran towards the ladies' room, distraught. As for Kelvin, who had passed out drunk, she didn't want to deal with him for another minute. I followed her and overheard her phone conversation. Yes, I'm coming up now. This is bloody awful. I don't fancy him at all. He's got no money, no influence. I only approached him because, I just felt sorry for him. Oh, remember to call a cab to take him to a hotel. Make sure to say it was arranged by me. Don't forget, you must mention my name. I've helped him so many times, he's bound to remember me in the future. Don't worry, I'll become the woman everyone envies. By the way, don't forget to introduce me to Mr. Clark later. There'll be something in it for you. Trust me, he'll fall for me. Head over heels, even. I leaned against the door, laughing to myself. The Mr. Clark she mentioned seemed to be a secondary male lead in the story, deeply in love. Even after Mabel got married, Mr. Clark was still waiting for her, pining away. Kelvin sobered up and found himself lying on the side of the road, unsurprised. He only asked me, "What are you doing here?" "I was passing by and saw you drunk alone there." "I had someone help you out to get some fresh air and sober up," I replied. The man said emotionlessly, But I remember it was clearly Mabel. Pretending to be drunk, eh? I stood there expressionless. Kelvin didn't continue with anything more awkward. He frowned, looking somewhat sad. My grandfather passed away. He told me to go back and take good care of the company. Unable to offer comfort, I could only listen silently. I've pretty much figured out Mabel's motives for approaching me. What about you? Why are you deliberately getting close to me? At this point, I didn't hide it anymore. My fiancé can be impulsive in his actions, but he's not a bad person. Mr. Wilson, you have a steady temperament. I think if there's an opportunity in the future, you two could try working together. Kelvin was stunned for a moment, then smiled faintly. If he knew you came to talk to me about these things privately, wouldn't he feel like he's lost face? Denzel wouldn't at all. I said, he won't. He likes that I think ahead for him like this. Denzel is a person who lacks love. The Reed family's relationships are rather complicated. The elder Mr. Reed married into the family, and it wasn't until the 5th year of their marriage that his previous marriage was exposed. Those years brought significant changes to the Reed family. The elder Mrs. Reed was so distraught that she fell ill and passed away prematurely. She left behind 8-year-old Denzel. Less than a year later, considering the bigger picture, the elder Mr. Reed thought about remarrying. At that time, the Reed family was on the rise, and a marriage alliance with another prominent family was expected. The other party was also interested in this aspect, but they couldn't accept Denzel. However, children can be rebellious from a young age, and Denzel never listened to his father. On the day the elder Mr. Reed wanted to send him away, Denzel set fire to the car. Covered in soot, he crawled out and appeared at his father's bedside in the middle of the night, laughing coldly with a knife in hand. At his father's grand wedding, he directly released a video of the bride having a private meeting with another man. Moreover, in front of the guests, he offered a toast with an arrogant smile. Congratulations on your marriage. This is my surprise. Do you like it? With such a troublesome son, who would dare to marry into the Reed family? It turned out that the bride's family had tampered with the car. If it had left the capital, those inside wouldn't have survived. Denzel had initially planned to leisurely watch his father's embarrassment over the bride's premarital affair. But when he heard that the family wanted to bring in an illegitimate child to claim everything from the Reed family, he laughed in anger and decided to go all out. Strangely enough, as time went on, the elder Mr. Reed became increasingly satisfied with his son. He decided to keep this only heir and groom him as his successor. The father-son relationship never improved. Neither would back down. People said it was like a great troublemaker raising a little troublemaker, each with a harder temperament than the other. To tame his son, the elder Mr. Reed used some harsh methods. He abandoned him on an uninhabited island with nothing for a full month. When they retrieved him, Denzel was covered in wounds from wild animals, running a high fever, and nearly became mentally impaired. The Golden Triangle was notoriously dangerous, where murder went unpunished. But Denzel had stayed there. After he came back, he was in intensive care for 3 days and nights. From then on, the relationship between the Reed father and son reached an all-time low. They would go to war at the slightest disagreement. I originally thought that after experiencing all this, Denzel would have little affection left for family. But on the day he proposed, he said tenderly, "I really want a home. Eleanor, will you give me a home? If we have children in the future, I will teach them that happiness is the most important thing. If the sky falls, their father will hold it up. They just need to love their mother well. If we don't want children, we can adopt cats and dogs and give them a home." So Denzel, he yearns to be loved. When I returned to the private room, the party was already in full swing. Denzel had drunk too much and was sleeping in the corner sofa, neither making a fuss nor causing trouble. I called out, "Denzel?" Without opening his eyes, he leaned over and nuzzled into my arms. Denzel mumbled, "Darling, where have you been?" "I went to buy some hangover pills for you, love." He whined softly, "I thought you'd left me, that you didn't care anymore. I sent you messages, but you didn't reply." I checked my phone, which was on Do Not Disturb mode, and saw all the messages he'd sent. "They're bullying me." Come back and stand up for me. I feel awful. When are you coming back? Eleanor, don't you love me anymore? Darling. Everyone says Denzel is a cold-hearted, ruthless man, but I don't see that. All I know is that he's someone who needs love. The system quietly asked me. Are you having second thoughts? What will you do when it's time to leave? I couldn't answer. We'll see. The Hill Group has changed hands. Kelvin, upon his return to the Hill Group, acted swiftly and more decisively than in the original story. I asked Denzel how he felt about this situation. Due to his hangover, he had a bit of a headache. People tend to want to be pampered when they're vulnerable. So the man stayed nestled in my arms, reluctant to get up. His voice was still nasally as he said, "How should I feel? No matter how successful he is, he still doesn't have a girlfriend." I was actually a bit speechless. Mabel appeared more frequently around Kelvin, trying every day to get close to him. When Denzel took me to a business meeting, we happened to see her being thrown out of a private room. Kelvin! I've helped you so many times, and now you're not even going to thank me? I'm really your future wife, you'll regret pushing me away. She shouted outside, causing a scene. Inside, the man remained seated calmly, looking over coldly without saying a word. Mabel saw me, then looked at Denzel beside me. Her eyes almost overflowing with jealousy. She couldn't accept it. I asked the system, does she know the purpose of her being in this story? Or does she not have a system with her? It doesn't make sense for the system not to remind its host when they're messing up the task like this. The system said, there's no trace of a system. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to delay her arrival for so many years. So there's only one possibility. Mabel had transmigrated into the story for a second time. She thought the plot would still follow the path of her previous life, not expecting me to be the variable that would completely change the storyline. As Denzel held my hand to enter, Mabel blocked our way. Denzel, you. Just because I didn't shoot last time, you think I'm very patient? Denzel no longer gave her a chance to get close, dropping a harsh warning and having his men drag her away. As Mabel was being pulled outside, she turned her anger towards me. It's all your fault, Eleanor Bailey. It must be because of you that everything's changed. Why don't you just die? You should have died. Denzel covered my ears, frowning. Don't listen, she's talking nonsense. Okay, I replied. The collaboration with Kelvin was quite successful. He didn't mention a word about our conversation that night. He just looked at me and said to Denzel, Miss Bailey is no ordinary woman. Mr. Reed is a lucky man. A certain man tightened his grip on my hand, his tone slightly annoyed. Just for that comment, we'll definitely invite you to our wedding. I felt embarrassed and quickly pulled him away. Back in the car, Denzel's true nature emerged. He licked his ruby red lips. Eleanor, do you know him from before? I figured there was no point in hiding it, so I nodded honestly. He was a bit upset but didn't dare to show it. After holding back and thinking for a moment, he could only say, You, just try not to talk to him much in the future, all right? I took the initiative to hug Denzel. Giggling secretly, I said, okay. Mabel threatened to kill herself unless she could see Denzel. The first time, Denzel didn't give in. He snapped at his staff, if she wants to die, no one's stopping her. But unexpectedly, Mabel actually dared to do it. She was rushed to A&E in the middle of the night. I nudged the man's hand. Go see her. Find out what she wants to say. Denzel irritably ran his fingers through his hair, trying to reassure me. You get some sleep. I'll be back soon. Just before dawn, there was a careful movement on the bed beside me. I woke up and rolled into the man's arms without opening my eyes. What's wrong? He lay down gently. It's nothing. Go back to sleep. Everything's sorted. I could sense that he wasn't in a good mood tonight. Denzel lay there quietly, not speaking, as if simply savoring the peace he found with me. His phone on the bedside table lit up. It was an unfamiliar number I hadn't seen before, but I knew who it was. The man answered the call in front of me. A woman's tearful voice came through. Denzel, It's so dark here. I'm scared. Will you come find me? Denzel's eyes looked murderous. Say anything like that again and you can kiss your tongue goodbye. I mean it. Mabel had been committed to a psychiatric hospital. One of his staff let that slip to me. But a few days later, Kelvin approached me, a hint of sadness in his eyes. Can I take her off your hands? Curious, I asked, what do you plan to do? He replied self-deprecatingly, I want the old Mabel back. Kelvin was the male lead. And in the story he was destined to fall unconditionally in love with Mabel. I adopted a negotiating stance. What will you trade for her? The man sighed in relief. You can have the lion's share of future collaborations. All right. I won't let her appear in front of you again. Denzel fell ill. It happened without any warning signs. The doctor said it was a matter of the heart. I stayed by his side at the hospital for 3 days. When he woke up, he looked at me with a complex expression, as if he had been longing to see me for ages, mixed with concern and a myriad of emotions. Denzel? I touched his feverish face. Denzel's voice gradually became calm. Will you accompany me to see her? The cemetery was chilly and deserted. Denzel walked ahead, dressed all in black. His shoulders slightly hunched as if carrying an invisible weight that made it hard to breathe. The person he spoke of was Mrs. Reed, who had passed away many years ago. A photo of the woman in her youth hung on the tombstone. Denzel's face bore traces of her features. Every year, Denzel would bring me here, but he never dared to speak about her. The story was too painful. Here to see you again. Don't think I'm a bother. I won't stay long. The man murmured, his eyes downcast as he wiped the dust from the stone. That day, you took those pills right in front of me. You kept saying his name, swearing that even as a ghost you'd never let him go. He paused. Sometimes I feel like the one you never let go was me. I silently averted my gaze, my eyes growing moist. Mom, Denzel whispered, I miss you so much. But it seems you don't care about your son at all. You've never once visited me in my dreams. After returning home, Denzel shut himself in his room and hadn't come out since. Today was the anniversary of his mother's passing. Every year at this time, he would become a different person, quiet and withdrawn. In the evening, I entered the room with light footsteps. The room was dark, with only a small light visible on the balcony. Denzel was smoking. He recognized my presence and said in a hoarse voice, Eleanor. I didn't say anything, just embraced him. The man in my arms remained silent for a long time, unusually quiet for him. His hands on my waist held me tightly, as if afraid I might run away. Eleanor, can we get married right away? I didn't quite understand why he was in such a rush. I want to bring you home as my wife as soon as possible. The marital home is ready, it's that seaside villa in Cornwall you love so much. I've also had wedding dresses custom made, mermaid style, ball gowns. We have enough to change 4 or 5 times in one day. And the ring, it will arrive from abroad tonight. The diamond on it is the one you gazed at for so long at that auction, I bought it. I was stunned for a moment. That auction where I had a tiff with Denzel. He was actually there and even noticed the diamond I liked. Denzel, what's wrong? The man's voice trembled. He was afraid. I feel like all of this is just a dream, as if the next second I wake up, you'll be gone. Eleanor, I need you to say it out loud, that all of this is real, that you'll always be here. It was on this very day that the system told me the task was complete. And I could leave this world. I looked at the man carefully planning our wedding venue, my eyes full of reluctance. The words goodbye seemed impossible to utter. Let's wait a bit longer, I said. The system didn't urge me anymore. Denzel had arranged the wedding to take place very soon. Many people were puzzled. Why are you in such a rush? The bride isn't going to run away. He just looked at me intently for a long while, before saying in a joking tone, what can I do? If I can't marry her in a day, I worry she might disappear someday. A strange feeling arose in my heart, as if Denzel had already foreseen that I would leave. I asked the system why, and it remained silent for a long time before saying, perhaps you've always belonged here? The wedding of the Reed and Bailey families was truly grand. It could be described as a lavish affair without exaggeration. The system told me today was the best time to leave and asked me to get ready. I was alone in the hotel's restroom. It seemed as if this space had been deliberately left for me. Even the corridor was empty. I stood at the fork in the path, with the back exit to my left and the way to the wedding to my right. My first step was towards the left. The system began the transfer. But how strange, why were there so many memories of Eleanor Bailey? The original owner, in my mind? My vision was filled with Denzel. Him smiling, him angry, him crying. At the very end, it was him kneeling before a gravestone, holding Eleanor's memorial photo, weeping uncontrollably. "Do you remember now?" the system asked me. "You are Eleanor Bailey. In your past life, due to Mabel Thornton's jealousy, you never returned from abroad. Denzel eventually discovered she was the culprit, deliberately got close to her, and used the same method to avenge you. Then killed himself at your grave while holding your memorial photo. The higher powers took pity on you both, giving you another chance at life, sending you on a mission to win Denzel's heart, allowing you to meet again. This world has always belonged to you." Denzel's side story. I have a childhood friend. Her name is Eleanor Bailey. She's gentle, quiet, but stubborn. I've told her countless times that I would never like her. Yet the next day, she would still follow me obediently. Too clingy. As time passed, we've known each other for over a decade. I thought I would never fall for someone like her. But when I was on dates with other girls, I felt incredibly irritated and impatient. When I saw her laughing with other boys, I wanted to punch someone. Eleanor had stolen my heart without me realizing it. Our positions seemed to have reversed. As we grew older, she rarely focused on me anymore. But I secretly observed her every move. However, someone as clever as her couldn't possibly not notice. That summer when we were 18, we had just finished our A-levels. During our graduation photo, she switched places with someone to stand next to me. And I secretly held her hand. "Denzel, after graduation, can we be together? But you have to ask me properly, then I'll say yes." I was overjoyed inside, but to maintain my cool image, I struggled to keep a straight face and said, "All right." That was the first time I smiled in a photo. But we both broke our promise. The vow we made at 18, neither of us fulfilled. She went abroad as an exchange student and never came back. The day I heard the terrible news, I smashed everything in the house. And even dragged my father out of his mistress's bed, getting into a brutal fight with him. When I woke up, there was a strange girl standing by my hospital bed. She smiled and greeted me. "I'm Mabel Thornton. Do you remember me, Denzel?" "No," I replied. A flash of uncertainty crossed the girl's face. I wasn't lying, I genuinely couldn't recall who she was. She started talking about our many encounters. That day, after I finished my race at the sports meet, you handed me a bottle of water. I slowly remembered. Eleanor was part of the student council, and was assigned to distribute water to the competitors during the sports meet. I didn't want her to be in the sun, so I had her stay in the shade and sent a few friends to help with the distribution. That day, there weren't thousands of participants, but there were hundreds. As for the girl in front of me, I had no impression whatsoever. Mabel continued, "Once when I had my period, I went to the school shop to buy supplies. Everyone was looking at me strangely, but you picked up what I dropped and put it in my hand." She seemed very touched by this. But all I could remember was that it was Eleanor's time of the month, and she was hiding in the toilet, too embarrassed to come out. I had snuck out of class and rushed to the shop to buy a lot of supplies. Whether I had done any good deeds along the way, I had long forgotten. I coldly looked up and impatiently interrupted her. "What exactly are you trying to say?" The girl blushed, lowered her head, and stammered. "What I want to say is, I have someone I like now, it's Kelvin Wilson. Thank you for your feelings, but let's just be friends." I was speechless. "Who are you, Mabel Thornton? Who is Kelvin Wilson? What does this have to do with me?" My whole body was in pain. My father must have told the doctors not to use anesthesia. I asked her to leave. Mabel seemed a bit hurt, but what she said next was even more baffling. "Don't be angry, I know rejecting you directly like this must be hard for you to accept. Don't worry, I'll come to see you more often in the future. What a nutter. The next day, I checked out of the hospital and went to the country where Eleanor had been killed. The police found a phone that could still be turned on from a pile of burnt rubble. They found Eleanor's last call record in it. Following this lead, I traced it back to Mabel. To avoid alerting her, I lurked around her. I didn't care about the unexplainable rumors. I only cared about one thing. My Eleanor, how did she die? Mabel was indeed tight-lipped. It took me a long time to get her to let her guard down and reveal the truth. Eleanor? To make sure she was living alone, I pretended to be an old classmate and called her, asking about her studies. Then I hired some gutsy people to sneak into her house with a gas canister and a lighter. Bang! The house exploded. Hatred grew in my eyes. Never had I wanted to kill someone so badly. Mabel said these things when she was drunk, still gloating. If I didn't get rid of her, when she came back, Calvin, Denzel, Neil, all their attention would be drawn to her, and all my efforts would have been wasted. She was just an insignificant side character anyway. It doesn't matter if she's dead. Better to be a beautiful memory of the past. I kept telling myself to stick to the plan, don't act impulsively. So, I waited until her wedding day with Calvin. Everyone said I was heartbroken and about to leave the country, never to return. Before the wedding ceremony, I found Mabel, playing the role of a passionate man. I'll ask you one last time, will you come with me? I've filled the house you like with roses. Will you come and see it with me? Just one look, then I'll let you come back and marry him. She agreed, of course. How greedy. Not nearly as good as Eleanor. I edited all our previous conversations into a video and played it on the big screen in front of all the wedding guests. Kelvin became the laughingstock of everyone. Mabel begged for mercy inside, but I had locked the door tight. The fire burned for a day. Exhausted, I carried Eleanor's memorial photo to her gravestone and said many things. It all came down to one meaning: I miss you. Then I had a dream. I dreamed that I opened my eyes and saw Eleanor, all grown up. Her gaze was gentle as she called my name. I was careful not to wake up. Everything in the dream was too beautiful. But I wanted it to be even better. I wanted to marry her. Right now, immediately. I knew she would leave. The look in her eyes was one of reluctance before parting. But I pretended not to know. I was too afraid that if I opened my eyes, she would disappear. I found Denzel in the stairwell, smoking dejectedly. He looked nothing like his usual confident self. I sighed inwardly. Denzel. He looked up, somewhat startled, only realizing when the cigarette burned his finger. He stood up. Awkwardly, he said, "You haven't left?" I smiled, but as I did, tears began to fall involuntarily. The wedding's about to start. Shall we go? The man's eyes instantly reddened.